Hello, I'm David Casey, a solutions engineer at Snap. Today we're going to be going over setting up a Snap Pixel with Google Tag Manager. The Snap Pixel is a tool that Snapchat provides to measure a range of actions that tie directly back to your business goals. To get the most out of your Snap Pixel setup, the events that you should pass depend on your business use case. For example, a blog site may benefit most from sign-up events so that they can optimize for sign-ups. An online retailer may benefit the most from a combination of page view, sign up, add cart, and purchase events so that they can optimize for purchases and effectively leverage dynamic product ads. What parameters do I need to pass to each event? User parameters are always required, as they are the only way to properly attribute an event. Additional parameters are covered in more detail later in this video, but consider the use of each parameter and pick those that may be most beneficial for your business. This tutorial assumes that you've created a Snapchat ad account, a Snap Pixel, and installed Google Tag Manager on your site.
Let's create a new workspace in Google Tag Manager so that we can develop and test our tag configurations separately from our production tag configurations. To do this, we're going to click on Default Workspace and then click the plus icon in the upper right-hand corner of the drawer. And then we're going to name our workspace Snap Pixel Integration. And finally, we'll click Save. Now that we have a place to work, we can add the Snap Pixel template. We'll click on Templates, and we'll click on Search Gallery. We'll click the magnifying glass, and then search Snap Pixel. We'll be sure to select Snap Pixel by Snapchat, select Add to Workspace, and then once we've reviewed the permissions, we'll click Add.
Next, let's start sending page view events through Snap Pixel. We'll cover sign up, purchase, and add to cart events later in this video.
Click on Tags. We'll click on New. We'll name the tag Snap Pixel Page View. And then we'll click on the pencil icon in the tag configuration card. We'll select Snap Pixel under Custom. Let's copy our Pixel ID from Snapchat Events Manager. I'll click on New Event Source, Web, Partner Integration, and then click the copy icon right beside the ID. Now we'll take that Pixel ID and we'll paste it in the Pixel ID input in our tag configuration. Our event type's already set to page view. We'll scroll down to triggering, click the pencil icon, and select all pages, and then finally select Save. Before we move on, let's install the Snap Pixel Helper and Tag Assistant Companion so that we can test our events. We'll go to the Chrome Web Store. We'll search Snap Pixel Helper, select Snap Pixel Helper, and select Add to Chrome, and then Add Extension. Next, we'll search Tag Assistant Companion, select Tag Assistant Companion, and then select Add to Chrome.
Additionally, please make sure your ad blocker is turned off for your website.
Next, let's validate that our page view event is firing properly. To do this, we'll click Preview in the upper right-hand corner. We'll enter our website URL. For me, it's snappixelsetup.com, and we'll click Connect. You should notice that the Snap Pixel Helper icon now has a badge. This means that the pixel is configured and events are firing.
If the pixel is not firing, you'll see a black and white icon with no badge. First, make sure that your ad blocker is disabled, and if the issue still persists, double check your setup.
Let's go ahead and click on the Snap Pixel Helper icon to view our event. Awesome. We can see that the Snap Pixel has fired our page view event.
Next, we're going to start sending user email and phone numbers with our page view events, as these are high priority parameters for matching and attribution.
In the left-hand side, we'll click Variables. First, we'll add a variable for our Pixel ID to make our life a little bit easier going forward. So under User-Defined Variables, we're going to click New. We're going to title it Snap Pixel ID. And then under Variable Configuration, we'll click the pencil icon. We'll select Constant. And then in the value, we'll paste our pixel ID.
Now let's configure those user parameters. We'll be leveraging the data layer object for this task. A data layer is a JavaScript object that's used to pass information from your website to your tag manager container. You can then use that information to populate variables and activate triggers in your tag configurations.
Select New. Title the variable user email. Then we'll click that pencil icon, and under page variables, we'll select data layer variable. And under data layer variable name, we'll enter user email. And then we'll click save. And we'll do the same thing for user phone number. So new, user phone number, edit, data layer variable, user phone number, and select save. Back in tags, we'll select our Snap Pixel page view tag. We'll click the edit icon. Go ahead and remove this hard-coded pixel ID. Select the brick icon and select the Snap Pixel ID constant. And then in user email, we'll click the brick icon and we'll select user email. And then in user phone number, we'll select the brick icon again and select user phone number. And then finally, we'll click save.
It's important to note that the Snap Pixel SDK will automatically hash these values before firing the event. However, if desired, you could choose to manually hash them. If you manually hash the identifiers, ensure to pass them in the appropriate fields, such as user hashed email and user hashed phone number, so that they are not hashed twice. Additionally, you must normalize these values before passing them to the Snap Pixel SDK or before manually hashing them, if you choose to do so. This is critical to ensuring that Snap can effectively match fields. We'll cover how to do this later in the video. Now that we have configured our tag to leverage our user parameters from the data layer, we have to actually pass those parameters to the data layer. There are many different ways that you could pass these variables from your site to Google Tag Manager, but we'll run through a basic example here.
We'll create a script tag before our Google Tag Manager container initialization. And in that script tag, we're going to create a function to normalize our email. And in this case, we can just return email.trim to trim any empty spaces off of the front and back, and then to lowercase to ensure that it's in lowercase format. Next, we'll add a function to normalize our phone. The first thing that we'll want to do is remove any non-numeric characters. So we'll just do a simple regex replace here. And we'll replace non-numeric characters with an empty string. And then we'll want to parse those numbers, which will remove any leading zeros. And then we'll convert it back to a string and return it. Now we'll create a function to record our user parameters. And we'll call it record user parameters. And it'll take an email and a phone. First thing it'll do is normalize the email by calling our normalize email function. And then it will normalize the phone by calling our normalize phone function. And then it will push these values onto the data layer with the keys corresponding to the data layer variables that we created in Google Tag Manager. Like so. And now finally, we can actually record these user parameters. So the first thing that we want to do is safely create the data layer, since this script is executing prior to the Google Tag Manager container initialization. So we'll do that by checking to see if the data layer already exists. And if it doesn't, we'll fall back to an empty array. And then we'll call our record user parameters and just put in, we'll say test@snap.com, and we'll put in an email. Great. Next, let's validate that the Snap Pixel is actually receiving these new user parameters that we've configured. So again, we'll first click Preview. We'll click Connect. Again, we should see that we have a green badge on the Snap Pixel Helper icon. Let's click that. Fantastic. We can see that we now have an email hash and a phone number hash associated with our page view event. However, before considering this test a success, we should validate that the Snap Pixel is receiving the correct email and phone number. To do this, we'll go to the hash calculator and we'll enter the normalized email that we sent, and we'll copy this hash. I'll place it in this text file. And then let's go copy the hash received for the event. And we'll paste it in the text file. So in this case, we can see that the two hashes match, meaning that our normalization worked as intended and the pixel received the correct email. Let's do the same for phone number. In the case of phone number, we can go back to the hash calculator and enter the phone number. However, we know that after normalization, the phone number should look as follows. So let's copy that hash, paste it in our text file, go back to the event, copy the phone number hash, paste it in the text file, and compare. Awesome. We can see that the two hashes match.
As mentioned during the introduction, you'll likely benefit from passing additional events depending on your use case. Let's run through an example of passing a purchase event so that we can optimize for pixel purchases.
The first thing we need to do is set up a trigger so that Google Tag Manager knows when to fire a purchase tag. So we'll go to Triggers. We'll select New. We'll call it Purchase Trigger. We'll select the pencil icon under Trigger Configuration. There are many ways that you could trigger, as you can see. In our case, we're going to set up a custom event under Other. We're going to call this event Purchase. And then we'll select Save.
Now that the trigger is configured, we're going to create new data layer variables for item IDs, transaction ID, price, currency, number items, and item category. These parameters are important for a variety of reasons. For example, transaction ID is important for deduplicating events to ensure reporting accuracy. Price and currency are important for conversion value calculations to ensure accurate ROAS reporting. Finally, item IDs and item category are crucial to matching items in your catalog for dynamic product ads.
So we're going to go back to Variables. Again, we're going to click New. We'll name this first variable Item IDs. And in the variable configuration, we're going to select data layer variable. We'll call it item_IDs and save. And then we'll click New again. We'll do a similar setup for transaction ID. Again, going to data layer variable and transaction ID. And we will repeat the process for price. And again for currency. Again for number items. And finally, item category. Now let's go back to tags. We'll create a new tag. Call it Snap Pixel Purchase. We'll click Tag Configuration, select Snap Pixel again, and we'll map in the relevant variables. So starting with Pixel ID, we'll select our Snap Pixel ID constant. We'll change the event type to purchase. We'll map in our user email, our user phone number, our price, item category, item IDs, currency, number of items, transaction ID. Great. Looks like we mapped everything. Now we'll come down to triggering, and we'll choose our purchase trigger, and then we'll select Save.
Now we have to actually configure our site to trigger that purchase event with the relevant variables. Again, there are many ways to send a purchase event to Google Tag Manager, but we'll run through a basic example here.
So we'll create a function that triggers when we click the purchase button. So I'll call it onClickPurchase. And we're not performing any actual transaction logic here. We're simply demonstrating how to trigger the event and pass the relevant metadata. So similar to our user parameters, we're going to want to push onto the data layer. And to save us some time, I'm just going to push some pre-configured information. The key things to note here are that the event is purchase, and then each of these properties correspond to the data layer variables that we configured. And then I'm going to go down here to my purchase button and ensure that onClickPurchase is configured in the onClick attribute of that button. Let's verify that the Snap Pixel is receiving our new purchase event with the proper metadata. So again, we'll click Preview and connect. Let's click our purchase button, and we should now see the number 2 in the green badge on the Snap Pixel Helper icon. This indicates that the Pixel has fired 2 events. Let's click it. Awesome. We see that the Snap Pixel has fired our purchase event with all the relevant metadata. We can follow a similar pattern to set up Add to Cart events. Luckily, Add to Cart takes similar metadata to a purchase event. So the first thing we'll do is go to Triggers. We'll make a new trigger. We'll call it Add to Cart Trigger. In trigger configuration, again, I'm going to select Custom Event. We'll put Add to Cart as the event name and select Save. Now we'll go back to Tags. We'll select New. We'll select Snap Pixel Add to Cart. Again, we'll edit the tag configuration. Select the Snap Pixel template. Configure our Pixel ID. Set our event type to Add Cart. Map in our user email, our phone number, the price, item category, item IDs, currency, number of items, and you'll notice this time we won't map in transaction ID because we haven't actually completed a transaction. And then finally we'll go to triggering, and we'll select the Add to Cart trigger, and then we'll select Save. Finally, we'll demonstrate configuring a sign-up event. So again, we'll go to Triggers. We'll select New. We'll title it Sign-up Trigger. In trigger configuration, again, I'm going to select Custom Event. However, it will depend on your use case. In the event name, we'll select Sign-up or type Sign-up, and then select Save. Back in Tags, we'll say New Tag. We'll say Snap Pixel Signup. In the tag configuration, we'll pick the Snap Pixel template, map in our Pixel ID constant, select the signup event type, map in the user email and the user phone number, and then finally select Oh, we need to add a trigger. So we'll select Add Trigger. We'll pick our signup trigger and then select Save. Given that we're satisfied with our configurations, we can publish them to production. So we'll go ahead and click Submit, and then I'll publish. Fantastic. So now our new version is live. As a final verification step, we can use the Event Test tool in Snapchat Events Manager to fully verify our integration. So let's go to Events Manager. We'll click on the Test Events button. We'll select our pixel for the data source, and we'll enter our website URL, and finally click Open Website. We'll trigger a few events, and then we'll head back to Events Manager to see the events that were picked up. So we viewed the page once, and I clicked Purchase 3 times. We can also view the metadata that was received with each event.